Look. Where's your toy? Where's your toy? A few days ago when I went out in the morning, actually I was sitting here talking to you guys on camera at sunup, and it's about half an hour from sunup right now. By the time I got out and walked down the path to the beaver dam, a deer had already walked through, and I could tell it had just walked through because it was snowing. There was only a few flakes in the track, so I missed it by a few minutes probably. But I can see perfectly right out to the edge of the meadow. Deer really can't get by the cabin here without me seeing it, so they're not running through. So if I was to see one, I do have my rifle outside the door ready to go, loaded, so I could step out and shoot a buck if I saw one. I leave it outside when it's cold like this, because if I bring it in, the scope fogs up. The deer have been moving through here that I didn't quite appreciate at the time when I chose the cabin location, just how much of a wildlife corridor this was. Because the meadow is wide open, the animals don't like crossing through there because they're too visible. And it's quite a distance to the end of the meadow where there's heavy cover but they also do cross there too. So that they either do cross there or here, because past that there's a lot of open hardwoods that they don't like to pass through either, if they can help it. So they stick to the heavy cover around this meadow and around the creeks. So with this beaver dam here, and then deep enough creek running here, and then on the other side of the beaver dam, they cross that beaver dam. Unless they're pushed, they would cross the water if they had to, but they choose to keep their feet dry if they can. So every day, I would say pretty well, or every second day, something passes through right here. This is probably the last day I'm going to rifle hunt. I'll start taking the bow out and I'll get into the heavier cover that I said I like to hunt. Just stalking through really thick bush. When the snow's down like this, they congregate in those areas, and I'm able to sneak up on them. That's how I harvest probably 75% of the deer that I shoot. But sure would be easy, convenient if I was able to shoot one right here and just drag it up and process it right here at the cabin. Grunting for? You already had your breakfast. Still tired? Yeah? Sucks, eh, Callie? Not sure how much I'm going to be able to film today. This snow's not letting up, but I'm going to work on this on anyway. See if I can get at least a course done today. And then I think what I'll do probably is start doing a little bit more work inside the cabin while this snow is accumulating. It's not so bad once it stops snowing. I can just shovel it out of the way and keep working, but it's kind of hard when it's falling down and covering everything I'm doing, including my tools. So I'll film whatever I can, and then like I said, if I get working inside, I'll show you what I'm working on inside the cabin. I think we've had, I'll show you how much snow we've had just today. It looks like another 4 inches just overnight this morning. What's that, 4 inches just overnight? Crazy amount of snow for this time of year here. We've had it in the past like this, but very rarely. In fact, I can't remember having this much snow this time of year. Second week in November, third week in November. I don't know. I think when I was a kid in the late 70s, I think we'd get snow like this, but it's been that long. We've had so many mild winters over the last, say, I don't know, what, 20 years, 15, 20 years? Except for 2 or 3 recent ones, starting maybe, what, 5 or 6 years ago, where we got a lot of snow, but probably still not this early. Problem with it is that it's really hard on the wildlife. So there's a deer yard not too far from here. And I was talking to a guy who manages a property on the edge of one of the yards, and he's talking about taking over the deer feeding program, winter feeding program this year. So I might volunteer my time to help feed the deer, which if this keeps up, they're already moving to the yards, which again rarely happens during the second week of the deer season. But what happens if the winter just ends up being that much longer when it starts early, and if it finishes late, they end up pretty rough condition by spring. So local hunters typically band together and volunteer their time and some money to pay for a feed even. The other thing I don't like about getting this much snow this early, it's still not frozen underneath. That's mud here. Because we had so much rain in October and early November. You get all this snow on top, and it actually insulates the ground so the frost doesn't go very deep. Now there's benefits to the frost not going very deep, but it makes travel potentially dangerous, especially on ice. The lakes also get that insulation. I noticed the lake yesterday was already frozen over. So if it gets too much snow on top, and even if that melts from the warmth of the water still underneath, it ends up creating a big slush layer. And if there's snow on top of that, it doesn't really freeze that solid, so it's kind of dangerous. But also all the marshes and stuff, spots like this, low areas that don't freeze, end up creating spots that if you're walking on it, or like snowmobiling and stuff, you end up going through the ice because it's just not thick enough because it's been insulated. So every year has its challenges, every season has its challenges, and there's different cycles that impact what you're doing out here, what I'm doing out here, now that I'm living closer to the land and with more of weather influence than like career demands or something. Basically my whole schedule works around the weather and my YouTube upload schedule, but even that's not doesn't influence my activities every day like the weather does. Basically what happens if we get a poor weather day like this, especially when it was rain, is that I would take those days to edit, which is probably what I'm going to end up having to do today, even though I don't have that much footage to show you for this video. And it's already Friday. What I've been trying to do is get the following week's videos edited on a poor weather day from the previous week, so that I don't have to worry about uploading, at the time that you're expecting to be uploaded. And I know you guys are too kind and don't keep me to the schedule, but I like to keep to the schedule. I think it's fair to you guys, and I just like the consistency. But it gets more challenging now. So like I said earlier, I think what I'll end up doing is maybe whenever it stops snowing, I'll work on the sauna, and when it is snowing, I'll do some work inside and get out and explore. Like, I love this time of year too, to go out and see the waterfalls as they're freezing, and the leaves off the tree, but you can see down into the forest and the deciduous, but also see the snow accumulating on these conifers. I think it's quite nice. Callie's liking it, except for the ice freezing in her feet. Still trying to solve that. My wife found some mushers booties for the dogs on our website, so we're going to try those. I think order some and try them out. Okay. She loves it though. She just doesn't like the ice on her feet. The other thing I need to do is just keep sweeping off all my materials so that they don't get too buried. So I'll keep lifting them above the snow. Get all these logs that eventually are going to get covered and maybe frozen in, so I'll keep lifting those and sweeping them off and sorting them. Firewood's well protected. Firewood that I've got in 2 other spots is well protected with tarps stacked neatly, so I'm good for a year and a half with firewood, so I'm not worried about that. And once this ground freezes, I'll start cutting wood for next year. Anyway, it's pretty. It just makes for a long winter when it starts this early. Me? I know, but I'm not playing, because once I start, you'll never stop.